The Sooners are off and rolling in Norman, Oklahoma. The countdown to kickoff is officially upon us. Our good friend Tyler McComas, host of The Rush on the Ref, down there in Norman, joins us to help break down all things Oklahoma spring football. Tyler, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend.
Oh, I love coming on here. We're doing well out here. I just still want to be Chris Phillips when I grow up so I can go to a different SEC town essentially every other week. Bro, you're living the life, man. Congrats. That's
I
sweet.
I, I appreciate it, Tyler. I'm trying to, and I know you say that with the reminder that I have not been to Norman yet. So I
Yes.
promise you that will be getting fixed very, very soon, and I'm excited to make my trip, my man. I can tell you that. Tyler, let's talk some Oklahoma spring football. I first want to talk again. You're as close to the program as anybody. You guys talk about it every single day. You know the pulse of that fan base and that program, I'd say probably more than anyone. What has this spring been like for Brent Venables and that entire program? Do you sense a sense of urgency because they're going to do everything they can to ignore the outside noise and the talks of hot seat and expectations and what needs to happen this year. But there's no denying the fact, Tyler, this is a massive year for the overall trajectory and
Yeah.
really Brent Venables' future in Norman.
If you don't have a great season this year, it could mean the end of the head coach. It could mean the end of the athletic director. I mean, it could mean the end of a lot of things. And the most new from one season to the next that we've seen since Barry Switzer. I mean, these are the types of conversations that we're having. It's not just a big year for the head coach. It's a huge year for the athletic department. It's the biggest year, it feels like, for an Oklahoma season going into things in a long, long time. And how are they dealing with that pressure? How are they dealing with that expectations? Well, Brent was essentially asked that in his pre-spring press conference, and I think he's genuine when he says this. He says, this is really, in terms of how I handle things, it's no different because I've always felt like I was under the gun or someone's holding me underwater. For my first year as a coach with Bill Snyder at Kansas State saying, hey, I can't pay you very much and I can't guarantee a spot on my staff next year, but I can give you this year and we'll see what you do with it. So he says he's always been under pressure. He's always been under the gun. He even says he's a little bit comfortable with that as well. But dude, there is no doubt whatsoever that there is an incredible amount of pressure, not just on the athletic department, but OU's never paid a huge buyout in any sport. Like we've been the ones here that have made fun of Texas A&M for the buyout they've had to pay, made fun of Auburn for the buyouts that they've had to pay. I mean, in any sport, OU's never paid a buyout probably over $2 million. And with the buyout that Brent has next to his name, it would be a substantial buyout that, frankly, OU hasn't seen anything remotely close to that in previous years. So it's a massive year, man. There's no other way to say it.
Tyler, let's talk on the field. We've got to start at the most important position, not just in football, but maybe all the sports, that being the quarterback. Oklahoma goes out and gets John Mateer from Washington State. He also joins his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle. What's that marriage been like, and what's the what's the hype around John Mateer? Obviously, I know you and I talked a few weeks ago, and Baker Mayfield was the comp, it seems like, that Oklahoma fans are throwing out there.
And we've had to be careful with that because I think the fans now have gotten to a point where, I mean, I like that, but you guys hyped up Jackson Arnold last year too, so don't get me too excited. But that's the comp, and not necessarily the comp in terms of how he plays or certainly how good he's going to be, but we're talking about the moxie. We're talking about the confidence. We're talking about the leadership. I've made that comparison. Others have made that comparison. Bob Stoops comes on my radio show once a week. He's even made that comparison. All right. So if you don't want to trust me on that, at least trust a guy who won a national championship at Oklahoma. He's been the guy that says that. And Chris, I don't know if John Mateer was the best quarterback in the portal. Some had him ranked as the number one quarterback in the portal. But here's what I'm confident in, even during the spring, is John Mateer is the right quarterback for Oklahoma at this time. I don't think he'll be better than Baker Mayfield. I don't think he'll be better than Kyler Murray. I don't think that he'll be better than Jalen Hurts. I don't think that we're talking about the best quarterback Oklahoma's seen in a decade. But what does Oklahoma need offensively right now? Well, they need really good quarterback play, which they didn't have a year ago. But they need a dog, man. They need a leader. Like, that offense was bad last year. And they didn't have a guy, especially at quarterback, that the rest of the offense looked to and said, hey, we're in bad shape here, but we know that guy is going to bail us out. And that's what Baker Mayfield was, and that's where the comparisons come from, because after the 2014 season, I know I'm going back a little bit, but you fired Josh Heupel. You know, you had Trevor Knight, who was all of a sudden in a quarterback battle. Baker Mayfield, OU needed they needed some momentum. They needed some confidence. They needed a lot of things. And Baker Mayfield gave you that as a quarterback with the swag and the moxie. And you end up making the college football playoff in 2015. I don't know if OU will make the playoff this year, but I am confident that they have a substantial upgrade in just overall talent level. Dude's athletic. He can run around. He's a really good passer as well. But they've got a dog, man. They got a guy on offense that when it gets tough, and it will get tough in SEC this year, they've got a guy that can dig themselves out of a hole. And they desperately needed that more than anything else that they needed on the roster.
Tyler, speaking of the rest of the offense, obviously offensive line play was an issue. I mean, really, everything was an issue, it seemed like at times. Injuries, I know, plagued this group. You do have Deion Burks back at the wide receiver position. You've added a couple guys out of the portal. But, again, I want to go back to the offensive line. I know it's really tough to tell in spring, but do you feel like there have been at least positive reports that that unit is going to be better than it was a year ago?
There's been positive reports because there's been availability. You know, how do you establish continuity as an offensitive line if you have no availability whatsoever? And that was the issue last year. I believe they gave up the most sacks in the SEC. They didn't have much of a run game to speak of. And look, as excited as I am about John Mateer and will add to the hype that I think he's a really good quarterback, what are we talking about here if the offensive line isn't a lot better? It's going to have to be. And for that to be the case, they're going to have to stay healthier than what they were last year. They've got two true freshmen, and I'm not saying that this is the league that you want to be breaking in two true freshman offensive linemen, but Michael Fasusi was a 5-star. I think Rivals had him ranked as the highest offensive line prospect in the 2025 class. He's really pushing for that left tackle spot. I don't think he's a day one starter, but this is the guy they say he's going to be big time, and he's going to play this year. Ryan Fogier, a 4-star offensive lineman. He's looked really good in spring ball. He's got a chance to play. Derek Simmons, you got him from Western Carolina. A lot of schools offered him. I think Alabama was a school that was in on him as well. So you've got some portal pieces, but you've also got some players back last year, some young players that showed some promise but were a little bit beat up at times. I think if healthy, we're not talking about the best offensive line in the SEC or top 3. But I think that they could be solid. I think that they could be good. And if they could be a good offensive line and a consistent offensive line, then I think that that kind of sets the table for this offense, not just being a lot better, but based on where it was ranked last year, maybe being the most improved offense in all of the SEC this year.
Tyler, switching sides of the football, most notably on defense, you lose two of the top players, not just in the SEC, but the country, and Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman. Who's emerged on the defensive side? I know a lot of returners, obviously, but those are two key pieces that Brent Venables will have to replace. And obviously last year, the defense was the strength. Is it shaping up, you think, to be that way yet again, just based off what you've heard and what you've seen thus far this spring?
Yeah, frankly, look, I'll be shocked if the offense is not better. And if the offense is not better, then you and I will be talking about who the new head coach is at OU in a year's time. But even with the offense improving, it's a defensive-led football team. And I think it probably always will be as long as Brent's here. Will this defense be as good as it was last year, minus Stutzman, minus Billy Bowman? I don't know that today, but I think it has a chance to be, because even though you lose Stutzman, which was the heart and soul of your football team, you're still going to be really good at linebacker, man. Kobe McKenzie's going to kind of step into a bigger role this year. You've got Kip Lewis coming back, and Kip Lewis had a pick 6 against Auburn, and he had a pick 6 against Alabama. The two SEC games that OU won last year, Kip Lewis had a pick 6 in those. So maybe that's the secret for this year, is him just continue to make a pick 6 every single game. They'll be good at backer. They need to find another corner. Eli Bowen was really good last year as a true freshman. Safety, I think that they're stacked there. They're going to be good. I think the strength of the entire football team, though, could be across the defensive line. And if you want a breakout player, you know, someone that's looked really good, so far. You could be talking about a David Stone, who's a sophomore. He was a 5-star defensive tackle. They've just got some bodies on the defensive line that they didn't when Brent showed up, man. They have really just revamped the defense in its entirety, but especially up front on that defensive line, man. They got Dominic Williams back, who they got in the portal about a year ago from TCU. He's really good. Again, I don't know if this defense will be as good as it was last year. And it's going to be hard to judge because the offense last year consistently put that defense in terrible, terrible situations. So we didn't see the best of what the OU defense had to offer. So I think that they're extremely talented. Maybe they're as good as the defense from last year. But here's the real difference, man. I expect this offense to be a lot more efficient, a lot better, not turn the ball over right back when the defense gives it to them inside the 10-yard line. And that alone is going to make the OU defense, I think, look a whole lot better this year.
Tyler, a lot of new faces on this roster, both offensively, defensively. Talk about some of the top newcomers, transfers and freshmen alike that you've at least heard rumblings of, or coaching staff has raved about, or players have talked about, or again, you've seen that you feel like are making an impact that maybe folks outside of Norman not as familiar with.
So you texted me on Monday afternoon asking me to come on the show. And I was like, yeah, great. Thinking about spring ball, like, man, it's really all been kind of positive here. I can't wait to share the good news of Oklahoma football and one player in particular. But then something kind of unfortunate happened on Monday because Giovanni Gibson is the name that I'm going to bring up to you. Wide receiver transfer from Arkansas Pine Bluff, had over 1,000 yards at Pine Bluff. And I get that level, man. Just because you're good at Pine Bluff doesn't mean that you're going to be a dude in the SEC. But by all reports and by all the social media snippet videos that OU football Twitter account was putting out, Giovanni Gibson looked really, really good, man. OU had no vertical passing game to speak of last year, and John Mateer and Giovanni Gibson has established a really nice rapport. Well, he suffered an injury on Monday, a lower leg injury, to the point where, as we're talking on Wednesday morning, I don't know if OU knows if he's going to be back for the season or not. That was a real gut punch, man. Real gut punch. Because it's been all positive, really, for the most part during spring. You got the quarterback that you really needed. You've got some guys at wide receiver that were really starting to emerge in Isaiah Satania, the Arkansas transfer, in Giovanni Gibson. Now both of those guys have been injured. And, I mean, that just stinks, and it puts a damper on the spring. But you saw the availability reports just like we did last year. And there were like 5-6 OU wide receivers seemingly every single Thursday and Friday that were listed as out. So after just being decimated by injuries at wide receiver last year, the fan base right now goes from optimistic to frustrated. Why does this keep happening? Why? Jaden Gibson suffered a slight setback earlier in the spring, so you're just not fully healthy at wide receiver right now. And it has people wondering, like, what's going on with the wide receiver spot? What's going on with the injuries? Because you can't have another year where you're decimated by wide receiver play. But what should be a positive response to your question, and it was up until 2 days ago with Giovanni Gibson, has now been like, dang, man, I hope this guy with a serious lower leg injury is just able to come back before SEC play starts this year. Because he was going to be a major part of things, man. He was.
Yeah, well wishes, Giovanni Gibson. Hate for the injuries, obviously plagued Oklahoma a season ago. I'm curious, Tyler, switching gears just a little bit. Obviously, last year, first year in the SEC for Oklahoma, you feel like you're ready, but then you learn a lot, right? As you go through that, you endure it. Obviously, we know the season the Sooners had. Has Brent Venables or anybody else on staff, or have they talked about what they learned from last year? Because obviously this time last year, you're gearing up, you're ready, or you feel like you're ready going through spring ball. Is it different this spring now that you've been through the fire and you sort of know what you're going to be walking into this fall? Are they preparing any differently, or is the mindset just any different, or is there just talk to me about year two now in the SEC? I'm sure there's a little bit of a different vibe now that you've been through those trials and tribulations, if you will.
Yeah, Brent Venables kind of spoke on this. I mean, he essentially said, like, I went into pretty clear eye. I kind of knew what we were getting into in the SEC, and everything that we saw validated that. And he mentioned it being a one-possession league. I mean, which it is, mainly across the league. It's a one-possession league. So if they learned anything whatsoever, it's just that every possession matters. You've got to be good in late-game situations. And maybe this was just the overall progression of the program, but they look like a completely different football team physically, certainly since the first day that he walked in, but even from this year to last year. I mean, you got to have athleticism, sure, but you better be big, man. You better be big. You better be physical. You better have the size. And maybe that wasn't so much learning about the SEC and seeing the different body types, but I would say that they really understand it's a one-possession league, man. Every single mistake is magnified in this conference, man. I mean, it just is, and it'll come back to bite you. But also, we see physically where we need to be as a football team, and we're making some more moves to kind of match up with some of the body types that we see in the SEC.
Tyler, the Crimson Combine is upcoming this weekend. A little bit different look for the spring game, as is the case really with everybody. This is the new norm, I suppose, in college football. Give us an idea just what that looks like. I'm sure some folks are hearing me say that and saying, what in the world's a Crimson Combine? But what can Oklahoma fans expect, obviously happening this weekend down there in Norman?
I'd love to tell you, but it's Wednesday morning and I don't really know. No one really knows exactly what it is. Like, they gave us a brief outline of what it's supposed to look like. It's player drills is what you see for 1 hour. Well, are we hosting like a combine? Are we doing like 7-on-7 stuff? Like 1-on-1 stuff? Like what does that mean, player drills? Fans get to be on the field. They get to do autographs. I don't really know what it is. I don't think it's going to go over well. OU is a very traditional fan base well, we've done this always, and we've won at a high level doing this. So any changes, even like a uniform change, most people are going to be pissed off. So changing like the spring game format, even though a lot of people say, God, you don't get anything out of this, and you guys just overhype. Any big change like this, people are upset. And people are upset about this, so I don't know how many people are going to show up, but essentially what it seems like to me is, hey, we'll have some players out there doing some drills and bring your kids and get some autographs. Outside that, I don't know if fans will be doing hot dog eating contests or players will be in a dunk tank, or I don't really know what it is, but who knows? We'll find out on Saturday, but there's not a ton of interest for it, if I'm being just quite honest with you.
Tyler, I have to ask because I'm curious. I'm sure you guys have talked about this at great length on you guys' show. Your thoughts on the changing landscape? Obviously, this is happening outside of Oklahoma, but your thoughts on what's happening to spring ball and spring games. Essentially, it feels like we're trending towards maybe as soon as next year them just not existing anymore.
I hate it on one basic principle. Now, I don't get a credential to football games. I don't get a credential to football games because I guess I'm an atmosphere junkie. I've realized that in my life. But if I go on the road to Auburn, or if I go to Death Valley at night, I don't want to be in a crammed press box where you can't talk loud and you get no environment. Like, dude, I want to be out in it, man. So I'll buy my own tickets.
You're preaching to the choir, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, what's fun about going to sit in the press box? You don't have to pay for a ticket, but that's fine, dude. Like, pay for season tickets at Oklahoma. I want to be in the environment. Pay for road game tickets. Like, really, the point of saying that is this. I am a paying season ticket holder, and so you are asking more of me than ever as a fan. Chris, I'm supposed to buy season tickets, and they're more expensive now than they've ever been. Oh, by the way, be a good fan and go support us on the road. You better be a good fan and go to Dallas when OU plays Texas and that incredibly expensive weekend. And oh, by the way, on top of all of that, help us with NIL too. You are asking me as a fan more than you've ever asked me before. And now you want to give me less? At the end of the day, will I miss the spring game? Well, from a content aspect, I would like to see some of these true freshmen in just to get an idea before we get to the summer lull trying to talk about a football team every single day. But it's just the basic principle to me that rubs me the wrong way, that you ask so much of me now and you command so much money, but you continue to give me less access. And what's the real reason why you're canceling the spring game? Because if I ask 3 different coaches, I feel like I get 3 different answers. Matt Rule says because of tampering. Steve Sarkisian says because, well, we just played so many games the past couple of years. And Brent Venables cited injuries. So what is it, guys? Do you guys just want to be honest and just say that you don't want to have a spring game? If so, that's fine. But just understand my frustration as a fan when you continue to hit me up for NIL and all this, that I'm not always going to be happy about decisions like this. And I think that that's okay.
Well said, Tyler. Drop the mic. Tyler McComas, host of The Rush on the Ref down there in Norman. If you want to hear him drop the mic more, he does it every day. Tyler, one of the best in the business, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Again, let folks know where they can check out all your great work.
Yeah, just KREF in the App Store. I'm on from 3 to 6 Central every day. We talk a lot of college football. Yes, OU, but we really hammer and cover the SEC as well. I also do a lot of OU and SEC softball content. My YouTube page, Tyler McComas. Go like, subscribe. Tell me my opinions suck, whatever you want to do. But I'm there for all you softball, SEC softball fans out there. There's some content for you too.
Tyler, you're the man. I appreciate it. We'll definitely do it again soon, and I promise I will see you in Norman soon, my friend.
OU Michigan week 2. Chris Phillips will be there. You heard it here first.